I don't get it. I don't get it. So, new 3D Sonic game just came out called Sonic Forces, and everyone is up in arms about how terrible and bad it is. Some people even comparing it to Sonic 06. I've seen a number of threads saying, which is worse, Sonic Forces or Sonic 06? Even one person making a video declaring that, yes, Sonic Forces is worse than Sonic 06. Really? Really? I mean, make no mistake here, Sonic Forces has some problems, and it is absolutely worse than Sonic Colors and Generations. It is not up to those standards, and I do sincerely wish it was, as, you know, those were the good games, and it would have been nice if we could have had, you know, more of the good games. But Sonic 06? Really? I mean, even calling it bad seems like an exaggeration. I mean, Christ, people, can we reel ourselves in here? Have you gone back and played the old 3D Sonic games? Like, seriously, real talk, go back, play a bunch of them. Then come back and tell me, would you honestly rather play Sonic and the Black Knight over Sonic Forces? Would you really rather play Sonic and the Secret Rings over Sonic Forces? Would you really rather play Sonic Heroes over Sonic Forces? Would you really rather play Shadow the Hedgehog over Sonic Forces? And I know there's probably a lot of nostalgia associated with those games to a lot of you, but my answer would be no. While Sonic Forces definitely fell short of what I would have expected out of a 3D Sonic game after Colors and Generations, and we should absolutely hold Sega to a higher standard than what we've been holding them to, because Colors and Generations happened, you figured out how to make a good 3D Sonic game, please keep doing that. But in the grand scheme of all the 3D Sonic games, the only 3D Sonic games I'd rather play than Forces are Colors, Generations, and Riders. I mean, look, I love Sonic Adventure 1 deeply, but the last time I went back and played it, it really didn't age as well as I thought it did. It was great for its time, arguably the greatest launch title for any console ever, with the way it showed off all the different capabilities of the Dreamcast, but I don't think it really holds up as well as you think it does. And as for Sonic Adventure 2, well, I'll just be blunt, I never liked Sonic Adventure 2. It ruined everything I loved about Sonic Adventure 1, and while there were certainly improvements, the forced character gameplay dragged the whole thing down kicking and screaming, along with a lot of other issues. The light and dark element of the Chows was a big problem. But the only thing I don't get even more than the hatred surrounding Sonic Forces is how much I love it. In a year full of 9s and 10s out of 10, some of the finest game releases this year, Super Mario Odyssey is like the best 3D Mario ever. Nier Automata is a phenomenal action-packed artistic statement of just pure and utter madness. The Crash N. Sane trilogy brings back Crash Bandicoot. Sonic Mania is quite possibly the greatest Sonic game ever made from an objective standpoint. A true love letter to the classic franchise and the fans. And there are so many other good games that came out this year. And yet, even though I couldn't rate Sonic Forces as anything higher than a 7 out of 10 absolute tops, it is unquestionably the most fun I have had with a video game this year. And as such, it's kinda looking like my game of the year? 7 out of 10 game of the year? What? And so it's at this moment that I'd like to sit back and reflect on it. The best I can manage about how much I'm loving Sonic Forces, and shoot, even saying I love it is a bit of an exaggeration, because it's still not up to, like, where my favorite Sonic games, Sonic Advance and Sonic Riders, are. Yes, those are my favorites. But I still am having a boatload of fun with it. And the nearest I can tell is that it hits a perfect middle ground between so bad it's good and actually being a competent, decently made game. No, well made. In fact, let's start with that. First and foremost, though Sonic Forces may not be well designed, it is at the very least well made. The PS4 release runs at a solid 1080p, 60 FPS, no frame rate drops, silky smooth, even on a regular PS4. And even the most gimped release, the infamous Nintendo Switch release, which is not only 720p and 30 FPS, but features such downgraded assets that the game is only half the size, the PS4 release being 19 gigs, whereas the Nintendo Switch release is only 7.5 gigs, it still is not a bad version. Yes, I picked the game up twice. The one on Switch, with the exception of some very, very specific parts in the Burning City stage, runs at a smooth, constant 30 FPS. Those frame rate drops are really, really rare and in very, very specific places. The visual downgrade is very stage specific, like you don't even notice it in Green Hill Zone, but you get to that Burning City stage, for some reason that's just what the Switch struggles with, is that Burning City stage. And that's the one where you see the downgrade the most. But to anyone who picked up that version and is feeling ripped off by it, play it in portable mode. No, seriously, take your Switch, play it portably, and you begin to see just how incredible that port really is. It's amazing that it's running that well. All those graphical downgrades, you don't even see them when you're playing it on the little portable screen, and 30 FPS running that fast? This is pretty nice on a portable. See, the reason why the Switch release isn't as good should be pretty obvious if you take a minute to think about it. Sonic Forces was deep in development, like probably like 2/3 of the way done before the Switch was even announced, let alone Sega having their hands on the dev kits. The game was made for the PlayStation 4. The Switch just comes out of nowhere, and Sega's like, well, we gotta port it to this because our Sonic games sell better on Nintendo consoles, which, wow, would I love a time machine to go back to the 90s and tell people that. Could you imagine how many heads would explode? But seriously though, Sonic games do sell better on Nintendo consoles, so Sega put in time and effort to make that port decent. But yes, it was made for PS4 and ported to Switch. Getting it to run any better on Switch would have required them to drastically overhaul the game. Rest assured, if and when they make the next 3D Sonic, it will be designed on Switch first and ported to everything else, and I'm sure it will look absolutely fine. But that is the reason why the Switch version is the way it is, and considering that, no, that's a pretty nice version. You know, if you haven't played the PS4 one, Switch one's pretty fine. But it's more than just the fact that it runs smoothly. We can argue about how slippery the controls are, but they are at the very least responsive. And the camera? Well, that's one of the advantages of the Boost games. Thanks to the fact that the Boost games are so linear and structured, the camera is well choreographed, and I've had absolutely no camera issues. And let me just tack one more thing on there. That targeting reticle, the one they introduced in Sonic Unleashed, may well be the single most important innovation in 3D Sonic history. See, when I first played Sonic Forces, I got it a little bit early, so I played it before the 1.01 patch. And back then, there were a few targeting issues. Especially in the Zavok boss fight, for some reason I couldn't target, like, the third bee that would pop up. You can see it in the stream archive. It's really weird, but since I didn't have the targeting reticle around the bug, I knew that I wasn't targeting it. I knew there was a targeting issue, and thus, I didn't homing attack my way into oblivion, which was, if you recall, the #1 biggest problem with the older 3D Sonic games, was the fact that you would try to homing attack an enemy, and instead you'd either homing attack the wrong enemy, or more often than not, you'd miss them and fly off the stage. If they didn't have that reticle, I would have never known that there were targeting issues. But since that reticle is there, I know when I'm targeting things, and I know when the targeting is being a bit wonky, which after the update, it has been working out pretty fine. Shoot, they even use that in the stage design, because one of the new stage design elements is having these clusters of floating enemies, and you sort of tilt the stick in the direction of the enemy you want to homing attack, so that way if you homing attack different enemies, you can take a different path, and like, that's where some of the path branches are. That's actually kind of cool and pretty brilliant. Certainly an evolution of the homing attack, but more than that, think about it. Not homing attacking yourself into oblivion, a camera that is perfectly fine, and running nice and smooth with me not falling through the stage and the frame rate running pretty darn nice. Sonic Forces just fixed, like, all of the Dark Age Sonic problems. See, that's the reason why I'm like, yeah, no, I'd rather play Forces than, like, Heroes or Shadow or Secret Rings, is because they fixed those problems. It did still fix these Dark Age issues. More than that, let's continue. I won't lie, one of the major things that made me love this game was the soundtrack. Now, of course, we know Sonic games have phenomenal soundtracks, but this is my favorite Sonic soundtrack of all time. Unquestionably. Like, I've been thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, no, this is my new favorite. Look, you gotta understand, my favorite genres of music are cheesy vocal Sonic music and Eurobeat. And then my third favorite is opera metal. But I would actually call cheesy vocal Sonic music my favorite musical genre. Unquestionably, I love dumb vocal Sonic themes. And guess what? All the Avatar stages get vocal themes. It's like the Return of Sonic R, except the lyrics are so cheese-tacular, and they always fit what's going on. Like the first stage when you're like going off to rescue Sonic, and Sonic's all captured. They're singing about, yo, what is this we're fighting for inside this crazy firestorm? There's no one left to save the world, but in the distance I see the light of hope shining. And I'm like, dude, those lyrics are cheesy, but they're so deliciously cheesy. It's a fine Gouda. Silky smooth brie. It's so good, and every stage is like this, and it adds this layer of needless epicness to everything the Avatar does. Because all the stage songs are about what's going on. I mean, look, if I had my way, every video game would be a musical, alright? What's that? Yes, I do love Rhapsody, a musical adventure. Why do you ask? So, that's kind of a thing. And my second favorite genre, Eurobeat, guess what? That's what modern Sonic gets. Yeah, a lot of people feel kind of confused by the modern Sonic music, because, you know, they're expecting butt rock. No, it's Eurobeat. In the one Sonic game where he can't drift, which, yes, is one of my complaints. I love drifting with Sonic, so the fact that there's no drifting here is really, really weird. But Sonic gets Eurobeat. The weakest music in the game is unquestionably classic Sonic, which gets Sega Genesis chiptune music. And honestly, yeah, the first two songs are kind of meh, but the later songs are pretty good, especially Chemical Plant. I think the classic Sonic Chemical Plant music is actually pretty darn groovy. It's just, even when that music is good, the rest of the music is so much exponentially better than, like, anything else ever in the history of the Sonic franchise. Like, I think my favorite Sonic soundtracks before this was definitely Black Knight and Sonic R. Sonic R and Sonic and the Black Knight were my previous favorite Sonic soundtracks. Yo, not counting individual songs, because friggin' love Dreams of an Absolution, and What I'm Made Of is just so good. But outside of that, yeah, this is my new favorite Sonic soundtrack. And let's just be real here, I have a huge soft spot for custom characters. I will buy games entirely based on their character customization system. What, you thought I bought WWE 2K18 because I like wrestling? I don't know anything about wrestling. I don't know how wrestling works. Legitimately, I'm in the dark here. I bought that game to make custom characters, alright, and I'm having a blast doing that. And the same thing kind of applies here. I don't really make Sonic OCs all that often, so I didn't really have any, I can't make my OC moments, but embracing the character creator, it surprised me. Like, at first, it seems really, really limited, like you can only do so much with it, but spend a little more time with it and you'll be surprised. Because, yeah, as you play the game, you unlock outfit pieces, and they don't just give you like 1 or 2. You get 3 to 5 for every mission you complete. Every time you clear a stage, every time you clear a stage with an S rank, every time you clear a stage within a certain time limit, every time you complete some other random objective, all of these things get you just piles of clothes for your avatar. I just finished S-ranking all the missions, and I'm still finding new clothing pieces. There is so much here, and let's just be real here. A non-maliciously implemented Skinner box thing is not so bad. By that, I mean the fact that playing the game rewards me with more customization parts, and in such wondrously large numbers, it keeps me kinda hooked and wanting to play the game to get more customization parts to better customize my original avatar character. I freaking love that element, but thinking about it, if they used loot boxes, it would not have worked for me. I bought 3 loot boxes for Skylanders Imaginators, and I promptly regretted that, because in those cases, I popped those loot boxes into the game because I bought the physical ones. They actually sell physical loot boxes for Skylanders Imaginators, and that's sadly my one consolation is, yay, now I have 3 plastic treasure chests just sitting there. But yeah, I popped those in, and they gave me a pile of stuff, but it was nothing that I wanted. And after going through 3 of them, I realized this was a waste of my money, and I wasn't going to get anything I actually wanted from buying loot boxes, and I pretty much stopped playing the game after that. Because I was like, I feel like I might have to work a little too hard to get the pieces I want, and loot boxes are a garbage shortcut because there's an even lower chance of me getting the pieces I want through loot boxes. But Sonic Forces, you unlock the same clothing every time you complete the same goals. Like, earning gold medals with the bunny always gets you girly avatar parts. Like, the final unlock is the full gothic Lolita outfit. Meanwhile, like, the wolves, I think, get military gear. First gold medal for the bears gets you a Santa outfit, complete Santa outfit. And yeah, so you know what you're going to earn, and that means that completing the harder missions will get you more unusual gear because not as many people have cleared those harder missions. And that all adds to keeping me hooked and keeping me playing. Rest assured, if I didn't care about unlocking clothing parts, then I would have breezed through the game in 3 hours and just been like, that's it. That was nice, but because they were constantly tempting me with clothing parts, I kept going back, replaying stages to get S ranks, trying to do missions, wanting to play after having already beaten the game. It is quite a clever means of keeping me hooked on this game, and it's working out very well. But the cherry, I should mention before I get to the cherry on top, I do love, of course, the sense of speed in the Boost Sonic games. It's one of the advantages of doing a game in 3D. I'm going to tell you something right now. Platforming in 3D doesn't actually work that well. And I know you're going to point to Mario Odyssey and all the other phenomenal 3D platformers. And I'm not saying 3D platformers are bad. I'm saying they have to be designed very differently from 2D platformers. And Mario provides the best example of this. Think about it. In Mario 64, Galaxy, and Odyssey, Mario doesn't usually beat enemies by jumping on their heads. You can, but that's not how you do it, is it? In Mario 64, they gave him the ability to punch and kick. In Galaxy, he has that spin attack. And in Odyssey, he throws the hat. Shoot, even in Mario 3D Land, they keep you pumped up with power-ups. So that way, you always had a means of attacking enemies that wasn't just hopping on their heads. That's because hopping on enemies' heads is super fun and visceral in 2D, but in 3D it kinda sucks. Because there's too many different directions you can fly off in, and it just isn't fun. Don't believe me? Try it yourself. Like, don't use your attacks. Go play whichever 3D Mario game you have access to, and don't use the punches and kicks. Don't use the spin attack. Don't use the hat. Don't use the different power-ups. Just try running through a couple of stages of that game, only jumping on enemy heads. It might be kinda enjoyable, but you quickly begin to notice where this problem is. This is why 3D platformers are generally built more around exploration than they are pinpoint precision platforming challenges, because those work like a pile of crap in 3D. But you know what 3D is really good at? A sense of speed. Like, this is something we knew in the Pong era. There's a black and white video game I remember called Night Driver. Like, again, Pong era. And it tried to simulate that 3D back view look because it gave a better sense of speed. We've been doing this with sprite scaling since before we had polygons, because we knew that running into the screen like that back view into the screen thing, that gives the best sense of speed. And that's one of the advantages the boost games have over the 2D games. Sonic Mania, as good as it is, does not give the same sense of speed that Sonic Forces, Generations, and to a lesser degree Colors, and to a much greater degree Unleashed Today stages, give. The sense of speed is incredible, and that's part of the reason why I'm all like, you know what? Pinball Physics Sonic should be 2D, Race Car Sonic should be 3D. I'm a strong proponent of that. I really don't think Pinball Physics Sonic works in 3D, and yes, I've played Sonic Utopia, I've played Sonic Robo Blast 2. I stand by my opinion. I don't see Pinball Physics Sonic working in 3D. I think it'll turn out about like Sonic 3D Blast, because that's what that game was. But Race Car Sonic is a different approach to it, and I really, really like it. I love the boost formula. I love the idea of turning Sonic into a race car that jumps. I think that really works in 3D, and I love the sense of speed. I like fast games, and I've been thinking about it, and I think a lot of modern video games are just way too slow these days. Very few of them have that same incredible sense of speed. And I like going fast, though to Ys 8's credit, which Ys 8 is one of the strongest other competitors for Game of the Year, that game's pretty fast. Good job, Ys. In fact, funny thing, Sonic fans have been talking about how Sonic should perhaps control more like Sonic Adventure Sonic until you hold down an accelerator button and then he controls like a race car. They actually do that in Ys 8. That's the way running works in that game. It's an action RPG. I actually highly recommend it. It's good times. The entire game's getting retranslated though because they botched the translation. New translation comes sometime early next year. They've literally had to redo and revoice the entire translation. I don't know how you screw up that bad, but okay. So that's a lot of why I like the game, but the cherry on top of this would have to be the story. The story in Sonic Forces is so bad. It is fantastic. See, they put out all these interesting ideas and intriguing concepts that get everyone talking, and they ruin them in less than a minute. Best best example is right at the beginning when Sonic gets beat up and the screen fades to black and it says, "With Sonic defeated, Eggman's forces quickly took over the world." What? So, Sonic's gone. Sonic might even be dead. We don't know if he's alive. And then the next cutscene after that has everyone worrying about it, and Tails has just lost it, and Amy is distraught and hoping against hope that Sonic is okay. And I'm like, whoa, that's an interesting idea. And we know Sonic's gonna be fine by the end, but how? Is it the same Sonic? Is it a Sonic from another dimension? Is it a clone? Are time travel shenanigans involved? I mean, we travel so often in Sonic, it may as well be. Do we use the Chaos Emeralds to bring them back? Does perhaps Sonic fight his way back from the afterlife? What could possibly be... Oh, wait, no, Sonic's fine. You don't even get to do a stage with, like, is Sonic gone? Am I having to fill the hero's shoes? Nope, next stage. Hey, good news, Sonic's fine. And then they're like, oh, but he's been tortured for 6 months, and then they show Sonic, and he's just joking it up.
Oh, hey, sounds like the party started. Want to let me go and join in? No? Of course not. You hate fun. Nothing
but yucks, and it's like, man, Sonic, if you're not gonna take this seriously, neither am I. Like, okay, confirmed, Eggman, bad at torture. And it's at this point that I realize that the plot's almost so bad it's brilliant. Because they're trying to make Eggman into this, like, actually terrifying, threatening villain, but he's the same character. He's the same goofball, evil genius who constantly screws up, lovable character we've always known, because I love Eggman. And he hasn't changed at all. Like, the banter between him and Tails in the Green Hill Zone boss fight with classic Sonic, one of my favorite parts of the game. And it's like, yeah, no, you're not threatening. You don't come off as villainous enough. And then you have, Commander Knuckles, and a bunch of people are like, why is Knuckles the commander? That makes no sense. Oh, they completely ruined Knuckles' character. No, they didn't. Knuckles... Here's a good question. Who made Knuckles commander? I'm going to tell you who made Knuckles commander. Knuckles made Knuckles commander. No one who knows Knuckles actually respects Knuckles as commander, if you pay attention to the dialogue. Knuckles is just taking up the mantle of commander because he thinks he's the best. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to act like a commander. And everyone's like, I guess we'll go with it. Sure, why not? No one else is stepping up to it. Well, Knuckles wants to do it. Which, ask him about Operation Big Wave. How'd that go? And then, oh geez, when you play episode Shadow and find out the truth about Infinite. Or the truth about the Phantom Ruby. Oh yeah, there's so many, like hundreds of YouTube videos. Mystery of the Phantom Ruby revealed. The secret behind Infinite's true origin. And then you get your actual answer to what's going on there, and it's like, really? That's what the Phantom... Okay. The story just ruins itself. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And you know what ties it all together? The sheer epicness of it all. That cheesy vocal music about the light of hope and fighting for our future and being the hero because no one else will stand up. And then, again, you beat the game and the end credits play, and this is the end credits theme. Really? For that game? Did you play the game before you belted out this beautiful, gorgeous, really cinematic, end credits song? And you've got, this beautiful pan over of all these stages. Like, did you play the game? Did you know how stupid this all was? Because it was pretty stupid. But it's It's epic stupidity. It's so beautiful and well made, and I love it. I absolutely freaking love this stupid game. Now, does it have problems? Abso-freaking-lutely does it have problems. Stages for most of the game come off as being way too short. I think they shape up later on, but in retrospect, yeah, maybe the stages are a little too short. And more than that, a lot of them can kind of be beaten just by holding forward and boosting. Like, a lot of these stages do kind of play themselves. Now, I get the idea Sega was going for. They were clearly aiming for accessibility, and this is shown right when you press start, before the game even starts, when it says, what difficulty do you want, normal or hard? And if you read the fine print, you notice it says, we won't upload your high score unless you're playing hard mode. And yeah, the game actually, if you check the options menu first, the game defaults to hard mode. Normal mode is easy mode, but they didn't want to put anyone off, so okay, fine. Normal mode is normal mode. What it actually translates to is, in hard mode, when you get hit, you actually drop all your rings, but in normal mode, when you get hit, you only drop 20 rings, so you can get hit, like, a ton of times, and you'll still have rings. It makes you borderline invincible more so than you usually are in a Sonic game. It's pretty laughable, like, I'm not gonna lie, but from that, you can tell that they were aiming for accessibility, to make this a game that was easier for people to play. And as such, I think the idea they were going for with the stages was to make it where, yeah, you could beat them really easily by just boosting through them, but you'd want to take the branching paths in order to get the best time. The issue with this is the way it clashes with the way Classic Sonic was done. I was just thinking about this. In Classic Sonic, the easy road, the road you wind up on if you screw up a lot, is the bottom road, and that one's full of spikes and enemies and obstacles. The, like, quickest path is always the top path, which takes effort to get on, and then you have to kind of work to stay on it, but it winds up being easier and faster in the long run. And I think that's kind of the screw up here, is that the path straight ahead is so easy and smooth, and then you have all these path branches that are barely noticeable and super short and hard to get on, and the path branches should be easier and the main path should be way harder, but I guess that clashes with their design idea. I just remembered another thing I wanted to talk about. I remember someone making a video talking about how awkward the tone was, and how the ability to make your own character meant that this game was a sign of how Sonic had lost his identity, and I couldn't disagree more. First of all, the fact that you can make your own avatar doesn't mean Sonic has no identity because you can replace him with your custom avatar, because you can't. I mean, you make a custom avatar, but your custom avatar is no replacement for Sonic. But more than that, the fact that you can make a custom avatar that is distinctly a Sonic character is one of the greatest strengths of the Sonic franchise. Because here's a question, could you imagine if Mario did that? I want you to take a minute and try to imagine what a custom Mario character would look like. What kind of customization options would you get? I mean, the easiest answer would just be, oh, well, you can play as your Mii. Oh, whoop-de-freaking-do. Yeah, your Mii totally fits in with the Mario universe. That isn't, like, jarring at all. That's the thing. And in a way, Mario has different strengths. See, that's one of the advantages of Sonic there, is that it has such a distinctive visual style. There's so much more to the world than just Sonic, that you can make your own original character in the Sonic universe, make that character fit in the universe without detracting from Sonic himself. Meanwhile, Mario Odyssey actually shows the strength of Mario. His character and iconography are so powerful that you can transplant him into all these different, like, radically off-model worlds and still have it be unquestionably Mario because of the look of the character and the iconography of it. But, you know, you couldn't do something like what Sonic Forces did. You couldn't really do a custom character Mario game. Meanwhile, the dark plot, quote-unquote dark, because I'm reading between the lines and finding it to just be hilarious, but the dark plot of the Sonic game, that dates back to the Saturday morning cartoon. Do we not remember how much people loved Sonic Sad-Am? Do we not remember how a part of that was how dark it was? And so many Sonic games have had this darker element when they actually opt to have a storyline. In fact, I would even go so far as to say, when I played Sonic Colors, though I was amused by it, and it had its funny moments, in a way, the more lighthearted tone of that game actually felt a little bit off. Believe it or not, a darker tone for Sonic games is normal, expected, and the kids love it. I know that sounds so stupid, but look, one of the shticks of Sonic is that he is way past cool. Sonic is the cool alternative to Mario. And a part of that is those storylines. You know, Mario is just, oh, well, we're just gonna rescue the princess and it's all goofy fun. Sonic, Eggman is summoning eldritch abominations and tearing the world into pieces. And you're using ancient artifacts and crap. This has been a staple of the Sonic series since the Saturday morning cartoon, since the Archie comics, since the Fleetway comics, I'm pretty sure. And, admittedly, I've never read those, but still. And, Sonic Adventure and so on. That's been kind of part of the draw. Though these games are E-rated, they have that darker tone, even if it's sometimes a faux darker tone, like Sonic Forces. And people like that, because the result is, well, you're not talking down to your audience. You're not trying to be kid-friendly, wacky, cartoony, happy, ha-ha fun times. You are trying to be more serious, and sometimes that's a bit of an embarrassment. Like, to me, Shadow the Hedgehog is one of my favorite so bad it's good video games of all time. It's not a good game. It has way more flaws than Sonic Forces. Just, really, I have to beat all the enemies of a specific type? You're kidding me. Oh good, a sewer level. Oh good, my controls just got worse because I'm on this stupid hover disc. There's a lot wrong with Shadow the Hedgehog. But I know people, I have met people who have actually said to me that Shadow the Hedgehog was an important piece of their childhood, and they loved it. Unironically. Because Shadow has a gun. Now, whether you consider that to be a good thing or a bad thing is up to you, but there's a part of me that looks at that and says, that's kind of what the kids like. There's also a part of me that, as much as I am very much against censorship, I am very anti-censorship, and I'm so glad that we can use sex and gore and violence to enhance our storytelling. Sometimes I wonder if we use it as a crutch. There does come a point where it's like kind of nice when someone can tell a darker story and still make it E-rated, or E10 plus, as it were. And we can argue all day about whether or not Sonic Forces succeeds, but Star Fox Assault sure did. That's the one that really pops to my mind. I remember people being really weirded out when they examined the story of Star Fox Assault and realized, it's kind of a really dark story. Trust me, give Assault a chance. But getting back to Sonic Forces, the Sonic series as a whole, that's why people like. That's one of the major draws of the Sonic series. They like that darker tone, and that darker tone, as strange as it is part of the appeal of Sonic. I was thinking about it, and you can't really get what Sonic delivers anywhere else because it's bizarre. I mean, let's take a minute to actually examine Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog is a freaking American-style cartoon character based stylistically on Felix the Cat, who repeatedly goes full anime. He has been going Super Saiyan since Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. Since the 90s, since before we knew what a Super Saiyan was, Sonic was going Super Saiyan. I want you to think about that.
想定外だが、ヒーロー気取りの偽善者をいたぶるのも悪くない。貴様らに教えてやろう。弱者に希望などないということを。希望はあるさ、捨てない限り。はっ。捨てたのは命だったな。天使交代だ。あとは任せろ。どこの死に損ないかと思えば、青い救世主君か。貴様からは匂うぞ。恐怖がな。この俺に敗れた記憶が蘇ったか。
So Sonic has always been going full anime, and having these plots about ancient artifacts and evil world conquest schemes and armies doing battle. It goes with the territory, and there's just something so delightfully strange about cartoon characters. Big-eyed cartoon animals in dark, dramatic storylines, and yet that is Sonic. That is as Sonic as it gets. I kind of love it. As strange as it is, I kind of love it. So that's the best explanation I can give about why I love Sonic 4. Love is such a strong word, but I'm really getting a kick out of it. I had fun with Sonic Forces, okay? That blend of melodrama, incompetence, and pretty fun gameplay, all coming together. You know what? There's one more thing I could add on. Since it was, and this isn't a good thing, but I think it's a factor. Because Sonic Forces was so almost pathetically easy at times, I never really got frustrated with the game. Ever. Like, the closest I got to frustration was that auto-scrolling segment, and, the last form of the end boss on hard difficulty. On normal, it's a cakewalk. But on hard, final boss, final form is actually a bit of a challenge and can be kind of frustrating. Something I recognized when I was trying to S-rank that mission. Oh, sure, I could clear the previous two forms just fine, but one screw-up on that last form and I'm just done. So, yeah, for that one, I switched it back to normal mode. The only stage that I switched it back to normal mode for, at least intentionally. I think a patch switched it to normal mode, but whatever. The only stage I switched it back to normal mode to beat was that end boss. Because I was like, I'm not S-ranking this any other way. And as it was, I was abusing the friggin' daily bonus for extra points anyway, so who cares? Give me my clothes. Which I'm glad I did. That gets you, S-ranking the last boss gets you Amy Rose's dress, like the actual red-colored one. So that's nice. Good times. But let's step beyond this. First of all, I think the hate for this game is drastically overblown. See, it feels like the Sonic fans really expected something on par with Colors and Generations, and to be able to go to war with the Mania fans. I think they wanted it to be Forces versus Mania. They wanted something they could hold up to show how good 3D Sonic could be, and the resulting game, I admit, isn't something I would actually really recommend to anyone. And that's the problem. It's not as good as Colors and Generations. It's not something we'd actually recommend, and yeah, no, it's not something that can go toe-to-toe with Sonic Mania at all. And it's because of this that there's like no Sonic Forces defense force right now. They're gone. So, like, the word got out that the game wasn't that great, and that devolved into game is just so bad, and so many streamers and Let's Players and so on just really overemphasize this. Like, I was watching a guy play the game, and he was enjoying the game, but so many people came into the chat, and this was like on launch day. We're like, oh, it's such a shame about this game. Oh, it's so bad. And then there was another streamer I watched, And he's playing the game, and he's like, playing it shockingly incompetently, but he was like, wow, this game's so bad, like, even the music's bad, and that's usually what Sonic gets right. And I'm like, really? Or are you just flubbing it here? Because, I mean, look, everyone has different taste in music, but I have a hard time believing you could actually listen to the Sonic Forces soundtrack and say, this music is just so bad. Because, look, if you want to know about my least favorite Sonic soundtracks, it's the Sonic Riders series. I know, they're my favorite. They're like some of my favorite Sonic games. Yeah, I don't like the soundtrack, but there's still something I can listen to and say, yeah, I can see where the effort is. I could see how other people would find this to be good music, and it certainly doesn't annoy me, so it's fine. So I would generally think that would be the reaction to Sonic Forces music if it wasn't to your taste. But no, oh, the music's even bad. They couldn't even get that right. I don't even know what this voice I'm doing is, but this is apparently Pat's voice. I don't know how. I'm sorry. I slipped into a bizarre cartoon character that I don't understand, and his name is apparently Pat. Good. So, there was that, and then, and then you have the guy, going, oh, this is worse than Sonic 06, really? But my favorite one is one guy who actually, hated the game so hard, he actually requested a refund on stream to Steam and got a refund for the game after having beaten it. But later, when he reflected on it, he was like, yo, what, that was kind of a scummy move. But more than that, the part that I find more interesting was that when he was justifying why he requested a refund, he said the game was abysmal. And in his video where he was reflecting on this, he said, maybe those words were a bit harsh. And he admitted he rebought the game because he felt bad about it because it was a fun stream. And I think that's where we're getting lost. I think we're getting so caught up in the bad Sonic game zeitgeist that we're losing sight of the game we're actually playing. We're being so overly critical about it and the fact that it falls short of Colors and Generations that we're not recognizing that it's not that bad. And that is my opinion. Like I said, 7 out of 10 tops. I tried to explain why it was the most fun I've had all year. God, I wish my webcam was working when I was streaming that, because I was literally grinning from ear to ear, bouncing up and down like the freaking Numa Numa kid, because I was having so much fun with Sonic Forces. But no, that game, Sega, do better next time. Like, I'm cool with this game. I don't regret my purchase, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, but, I'm also kind of glad people are giving it crap, because the game is too easy. So, yeah. The only thing that I will, actually go hold on a second on is the game length, where people are like, oh, it's too short because it's only 3 hours. And I'm amazed that people are making such a big deal out of the 3-hour aspect. Why? Sonic Colors was 3 hours, and Sonic Generations is 1.5 hours. Sonic Forces is twice as long as Sonic Generations. This was a thing we agreed on. See, Sonic Unleashed, when that came out, the reason the Werehog is there, the reason they have that garbage metal collecting, pretty much the entire reason why Sonic Unleashed is a bad game instead of a phenomenal game, because oh my god, those day stages are so good, is because it was padded. They heard people want 40-hour-long games, so they tried to find a way to stretch the game out. And in doing so, it wound up ruining the game. Everything wrong with that game was how it was stretched. And when people said, why can we have a game of just day stages, the response from Sega was, if we did that, the game would only be like an hour long, and we all agreed, we're fine with that. We would rather have a 1 hour long good Sonic game than a 40-hour long bad Sonic game. And the game we got after that was the 3-hour masterpiece that was Sonic Colors, followed by the 1.5-hour Sonic Generations. And Sonic Forces is very much... I think the problem there was we were like, it's fine as long as it's good. And that's the issue, is that Sonic Forces isn't good enough to justify its short 3-hour length. And that's where we just get into this really weird zone, where it's like, so because the game is bad, we expect it to be 10 hours long? Like, that's kind of what we're doing here. But what we really should want is a good 3-hour long game, not request Sega to please make your bad Sonic games 10 hours long. That seems like the wrong way to go. But this does segue into why is the Sonic fandom so up in arms about this? Why is this striking such a hard blow with them? And I can explain that one too. And cripes, I'm going on for nearly an hour about frickin' Sonic. But bear with me here, I can explain this. See, 3D Sonic had a rocky time. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were arguably great starts. Sonic Adventure 1 was a great start. For Sonic's first attempt at a 3D adventure, Sonic Adventure 1 is freaking mind-blowing. Just amazing that they were able to make a game like that for Sonic's first 3D outing, and good on them. And they tried to improve it with 2, and they had some ups and downs, but then they lost the Dreamcast, and Sega was left floundering, desperately trying to make the Sonic Adventure formula work while struggling with hardware that they could not program on. Seriously, Sega could not PS2. Virtua Fighter 4 is like their only good PS2 game. Like, everyone's like, oh, after the Dreamcast, Sega became crap. No, their GameCube and Xbox games were fine. It's just they couldn't make a PS2 game to save their company. Oh yeah, Yakuza was also good. There were exceptions to the rule, but like, did you play Virtual on Mars? I hope not, because that game was garbage. But that was the problem. Sega was struggling with the PS2 architecture while trying to recapture the magic of Sonic Adventure, while at the same time not recognizing that the game, the lofty goal of trying to make something as decent as Sonic Adventure 1, that game was rapidly aging and becoming kind of outdated and old at the same time. And so the Sonic franchise was trying to be as good as an incredibly dated game that desperately needed an update. And so we had this long period where the quality of Sonic games was really questionable, and then Sonic Unleashed comes out. Phenomenal day stages, questionable night stages, awful medal collecting, and people are like, whoa, hey, you might be onto something. If you could do all day stage, this would actually be a good game. We had the conversation I mentioned before, and Sonic Colors came out, and it's good! Like, not, oh, good for its time, good for a Sonic game. No, Sonic Colors is one of the best games on the Wii. It is amazing, it is good. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it. It showed you could make a good 3D Sonic game, and people freaking loved it. And following that was Sonic Generations, which showed you could do a good 3D Sonic game, and people freaking loved it. And they were like, Sega did 2 good 3D Sonic games on a row. Could the curse be broken? Are 3D Sonic games good games now? And then the Wii U happened. See, Sega knew that their games sell best on Nintendo systems. And so Nintendo was like, hey, so we got this new system, and we really need some developer support, so we will give you a sack of cash, and you tell us the next 3 Sonic games are Wii U exclusives. And it looked like a win-win situation. Problem was the Wii U was a gigantic flop. Sonic Lost World comes out as a direct response, which, yeah, that game may as well be called Sonic Lost Game. Did anyone play it other than me? Every single Let's Player I've seen play this game goes, like, when they show Zavok, they're like, who? Oh, he must be from Colors. I didn't play Colors. No, he's from Lost World, the one you don't even remember. It's so sad. It's so... But, so Lost World comes out, Wii U exclusive. It is like the worst selling Sonic game of all time. In fact, everything sold bad on the Wii U. Mario games sold bad on the Wii U. That thing was a freaking money sink. And it's a bit of a shame, because Sonic Lost World was very much a response to everyone saying that the new Boost Sonic games, Colors and Generation, were kind of boost to win. Lost World was a direct response to that. And it was a very, very well-made game. I would say even better made than Sonic Forces. It is so crisp and clean and smooth, and the game design, I would say, is even worse. It was very much Sonic trying to do Mario, but not really succeeding, because they introduced new mechanics and gimmicks every single stage, and the result was something that, and that's what they do with Mario games, but it works for Mario because the games are a bit slower paced, so you can, move with trepidation, coupled with the fact that Mario games, Mario is so basic, he is just the platformer, that mixing things up every stage is what makes Mario games so good, the brilliant stage design. But Sonic, due to the constantly moving forward nature and the kind of shaky foundation we've already got for 3D Sonic, instead of feeling like each stage being new and fresh, it felt like a game that never really came together as a cohesive whole. It has moments that are pretty darn good, and I'd love to play more of them, but then the entire gameplay completely changes, coupled with the slow pace and complete lack of a sense of speed, and numerous questionable design decisions. Sonic Lost World just... it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It is almost the twin of Sonic Forces, only while Sonic Forces shows what an boost game is like, this shows what an anti-boost game is like. I don't know, but no one played Sonic Lost World. Game was a flop, and Sega realized, oh crap, we're screwed. Because any Sonic game they make on the Wii U would have tanked. No one bought a Wii U. They managed to weasel out of this by counting the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games as Sonic games, and for the record, the Rio Olympics one, the last one they did, sold so poorly on the Wii. Though, okay, the first Mario and Sonic Olympic game sold 15 million copies. The Rio Olympics sold like less than 500,000 units, and it actually cost $70 for a used copy at GameStop because so few people bought it and so few people ordered it that it is actually rare now. So, yeah, the games were not selling at all. And another part of that was that they counted Sonic Boom, and that was the other issue here. Sonic Boom is essentially one of those stupid How to Save Sonic articles incarnate. It was made not by Sega, but by Big Red Button Entertainment, who actually suggested the idea in the first place. They were like, hey, let's make Sonic into this big multimedia franchise. We're going to have a Wii U game and a 3DS game. And there's going to be a TV series. It's going to be great. We're going to call it Sonic Boom. It's going to be an alternate universe. We're going to redesign the characters. It's going to be great. And Sonic has always done better in America than in Japan. So Sega's like, yeah, sure, sounds like a good idea. So they went ahead and did that, and they made Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and it is one of the worst video games I've ever played in my life, and absolutely the worst Sonic game. Oh, egad, does that game make Sonic 06 look good, because at least Sonic 06 is a Sonic game, and also has an awesome soundtrack, and, like, a plot so jaw-droppingly stupid that it's actually kind of lovable. Sonic Boom doesn't have that. Sonic Boom is just plain incompetent and boring to the point where it invented a new kind of boredom I call compound hyperboredom, where the boredom you get more and more bored the more you play Sonic Boom, to the point where when you turn off the game, you get blown away by how exciting a blank TV screen is. Okay, Sonic Boom is like some kind of next level garbage. And yeah, that was part of the problem. See, no one really talked about Lost World, but everyone knew Sonic Colors and Generations were good games. So people didn't talk about them. 3D Sonic was good now. Yay? But there were always these channels, these Let's Players, these Twitch streamers who loved making fun of the bad 3D Sonic games, and they skipped Colors and Generations. But Sonic Boom comes out, oh, all of a sudden everyone's got to play, oh, Sonic's bad again, oh, bring out the old rhetoric, oh, why is Sega so bad at making 3D Sonic games? 3D Sonic has never been good. Take Sonic out back behind the barn and shoot him, derba. Just here we freaking go again, and the Sonic fans are screaming. Because we just had two good Sonic games. Sonic Lost World wasn't even bad, it was a stumble. It was something excusable. Some people even really like the game. And then Sonic Boom, everyone's like, oh, but Sonic Boom is so bad. Yes, and it's not made by Sega. It's made by Big Red Button. So it doesn't prove whether or not Sonic Team can still make good Sonic games, because it's not made by Sonic Team. And yeah, it was terrible. And everyone's talking about it, and it's all so bad, and it seems to have wiped everyone's memory of Colors and Generations. Which, yes, Sonic fans will constantly scream Colors and Generations because it has been such a long, hard road. See, one of the other things you have to understand about Sonic games is that there's no alternative. There's nothing else like them, except Freedom Planet, but there's no 3D Freedom Planet, now is there? See, there's nothing like a 3D Sonic game. You can't just go, oh, well, 3D Sonic's not so hot, I'll just play Super Mario Odyssey. No! Super Mario Odyssey's nothing like a 3D Sonic game. It's a platformer, a 3D platformer, sure, but it's a completely different game. That's the reason why we stuck with these stupid things for so long, is because, like, they're never, like, consistently each one is worse than the next. Every 3D Sonic game gets certain things right and certain things wrong, and we clung on because we had some kind of addiction to the bizarre gameplay that only exists in the world of 3D Sonic. Let's focus on high speed and flash and those homing attacks, which have some kind of enjoyable, visceral feel to them. So we stuck with the 3D Sonic games even when they were bad because we had no alternative. So we've all been on this roller coaster ride of quality, so when we finally had success with Colors and Generations, when Sonic 3D games were finally good, it was such a relief. I mean, freaking end of Star Wars dancing Ewoks, all the planet shooting fireworks levels of freaking finally a decade of waiting and suffering through games that were not exactly the best has finally brought us to this. It was an odyssey in and of itself. So yes, we kind of have a clingy attachment to Colors and Generations, and when they just get glossed over, it caused people to lose their minds. So this, of course, sets us up for the next step in this story, now isn't it? Because at the Sonic Anniversary Cringe Fest, which may as well be what it was called, they revealed Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. And on paper, this was the best idea ever. You let Christian Whitehead, a guy who was able to remake Sonic CD so well no one knew it wasn't emulation, and you let him make a brand new retro-style Sonic game to please all the old-school hardcore fans, give people the Sega Genesis game they wanted, and really, it's been overdue because we don't get Sonic Advance games anymore. As you might know, I'm a huge proponent of the Sonic Advance series, and it's a shame that they went away, that we don't have any Advance and Rush games. So yeah, we kind of needed a Sonic Mania. And it looked great. And meanwhile, we had Sonic Forces, which was looking like it was going to try to be Sonic Generations 2 for all the newer fans, for all the fans of modern Sonic. It looked like a win-win situation. What no one expected was, due to this rocky relationship, how just ridiculously well-received Sonic Mania was. Because when Sonic Mania came out, people didn't just like it. It is arguably the best Sonic game ever made, ever. Which honestly shouldn't be that surprising when you actually think about it. I mean, the classic Sega Genesis games, those weren't made to be big artistic statements. Most of those were made in less than a year and made to, make money. Let us not forget that the beloved Sonic 3 and Knuckles was technically two separate games you had to link together and the whole reason they did that was because they ran out of time when making Sonic 3. Sonic 3 was an incomplete game that you paid full price for and had to buy the rest of it in an expansion pack further down the road. Yeah, that's the way the old Sonic games kinda were. It was a different time, things were on different schedules, and they turned out really good, but they weren't polished to like this near perfect shine. Sonic Mania is a passion project, a labor of love, a Sonic fan being allowed to make an official Sonic game, and a Sonic fan so freaking crazy hardcore, he was able to reverse engineer the physics of the classic Sonic games and recreate it. Recreate the feel perfectly of the old Sonic games. And, tried to make the best Sonic game he could in a time period of well more than a year. And so, yes, the resulting game is like a masterwork, okay? It's really, really good. I felt the controls on Knuckles were kind of bad, but that's just me. It's a really good game. So yes, it's phenomenal. But unfortunately, so many people skipped Colors and Generations, and the news about how terrible Sonic Boom was so stupidly overwhelming that people, they forgot there were good 3D Sonic games. So they go, oh, it's been 25 years since we've had a good Sonic game. No, it hasn't. Everyone, and like, so many people just dumped that Colors and Generations even happened out of their minds, and it pissed fans off, because they're like, what the crap? Some people would even go so far as to say that this was the only good Sonic game, discounting all the Genesis ones. And this, of course, pissed off the hardcore Sonic fans who have been here for a long while, and are like, you all aren't giving this series its due. But what made them even crazier is that certain Sonic fans actually took back their opinion. There is actually a large number of people who, after playing Sonic Mania, said Colors and Generations were no longer good games. That's right, they were good games, but Sonic Mania was so good, Sonic Colors and Generations are now bad games. Which is convoluted and dumb, and if we're going to go off of that logic, I do believe Sonic Generations was one of the best games of the previous console generation, so by that logic, Sonic Mania is so mind-blowingly good, the entire 360 and PS3 console generation and the Wii, can just be dumped into the ocean. All those games are just garbage now. I don't know why you'd play any other game. I mean, Sonic Mania exists. It's the best game ever made. Didn't you know? That's what I'm talking about. This is what I mean when so this is what had Sonic fans on edge, and as such, they were like, oh geez, no one's going to give Sonic Forces a good chance. We were all bracing for Sonic Forces to get bad reviews based entirely off the fact that it wasn't Sonic Mania. And we're pretty much gearing up to defend the game, and then it comes out and it's not terrible, but there's no Colors and Generations. And that's the thing. Sonic Forces is the first 3D Sonic game we've gotten since Sonic Lost World. It has been 4 years since we got a new real 3D Sonic game. More than that, since we've had a Boost Formula 1. And that was the thing. Pretty much it was Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Forces. Because I told you Boom doesn't count at all, ever. And Sonic Lost World was a stumble. So this was the game that was going to tell us, can Sega keep it up? Could they make another Colors and Generations? Can 3D Sonic be good from now on? Is the curse broken? Or is it completely impossible? Was Sonic Team a complete screw-up, and will 3D Sonic games just always be bad in Colors and Generations? Were a fluke? A lot of people are acting like the latter was the answer, but the answer we really got was, maybe. Because that's what Forces is. It's still such a huge improvement over all of the, I guess you'd say, 3D Dark Age Sonic games. But it still falls short of being actually good. But it would be ludicrous to call it bad, because it's really, really not. It's just kind of easy with some bad stage design. In fact, the stage design is so at fault, I would recommend you look at the Liam Rising Super stream of the episode Shadow, because he actually... He hated the water slide stage, of course, but playing episode Shadow, his opinion was, this is kind of better than the main game, and I'm inclined to agree, because episode Shadow was designed to be, more challenging stages. And there's actually more DLC on the horizon for Sonic Forces. We know they've got some stuff in the pipe, possibly even like a whole new chapter, second ending kind of thing. Maybe add an hour onto the game. I don't know. But I actually think Sonic Forces is competent enough in every area except stage design, that, yes, DLC could turn it magically into a good game. Which, oh, geez, that's gonna be really awkward. Imagine if the DLC, like, this is highly improbable, but imagine if the DLC, like, was actually really, really, really good, like, Colors and Generations good, and then all of a sudden we have to defend the game with, okay, so the main game is sort of meh, but then you get the DLC, and it's really good, honest, we promise. Oh, it never ends with this series, does it? I love it. So, the one nice thing... Oh yeah, that's right. Why this matters. I'm sorry. We've been going for an hour, and we can still keep talking about this. The reason why 3D Sonic games like this matter to people, though, because I know a lot of people would just say, it's fine, just make more Mania. Well, not all of us really liked Sonic Mania, and I admit I'm one of them. Now, that's not to say I thought the game was bad. I had some fun with it, and I think, objectively speaking, the game is, like I said, a freaking masterwork. It's phenomenal, but that almost made it more depressing to me. Yeah, I found Sonic Mania depressing. Because I'm playing the game, and I'm like, yay, it's a good Sonic game that doesn't have anything I care about in it. I mean, it had Being the Dynamite, but that was nice, but it's not like it was playable or anything. That was the thing. I'm like, this is nice, but it's not the Sonic I like. And that's sort of the issue, is that Sonic Mania made us all realize just how much we lose if we roll it back. Because, where do we begin? First of all, as I mentioned, 3D Sonic is unique and has its own strange gameplay and a greater sense of speed than you could ever get with 2D Sonic. There's a certain love of that gameplay style, as horrifically flawed as it frequently is. So that's one thing, but more than that, the characters are a big deal. See, believe it or not, every single Sonic character has their own fandom. All of them. There are Ray the Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo fans. I myself am quite fond of Bean the Dynamite because I played Sonic the Fighters, and he is freaking beast mode. Meanwhile, let us not forget about Shadow the freaking Hedgehog, of which I've seen many comments on YouTube about Sonic Mania saying, no, please don't take away my Shadow. People love Shadow. Some people bought Sonic Forces because of the episode Shadow DLC. Shadow has a huge fan base, that's why he got his own game, which is an important part of certain strange people's childhood. People like these characters, and if we dumped 3D Sonic and did nothing but Mania, will we ever see Shadow again? Are they allowed to roll back these characters? Are they allowed to make a retro-style Shadow? And how would you do that? Would it be good enough? More than that, I hate to bring this up, and I know how this is going to sound, but let us not forget about the female characters. Now, look, anyone who tells you that female characters in video games are practically non-existent is a freaking moron who doesn't know what they're talking about. If you actually do research into it, which I admit takes a bit of work because no one talks about it, but if you really look into it, female video game characters can be dated all the way back to 1981, which was the year Pac-Man came out, and thus the year video game characters in general became a thing. There's never actually been a glass ceiling for female video game characters. They've always been here. But if we break it down on a genre-by-genre basis, platformers, of all things, are one of the genres most lacking in female characters. Now, I know what you're going to say, and I am well aware of the great Guiana sisters. I am well aware of Dixie Kong, and egad, if you knew the amount of Mario 2 I played, specifically with Princess Peach, to say nothing of Super Princess Peach. I know. Shoot, I know about Malice, okay? So, I know. But games like this are few and far between. They are pretty uncommon, and as such, the modern Sonic games have really stood out in this regard, as darn near every single one of them, the grand majority of them, all feature at least one female playable character. Whether it's Amy, Cream, Rouge, or Blaze, they feature somebody most of the time. You know, the exceptions obviously being the games where Sonic is the only playable character, and of course Shadow the Hedgehog, but even still the female characters frequently show up in the background. They are still important to the franchise, and again, yes, they're playable in a lot of these games. Is Sonic Mania allowed to make Amy Rose playable? That's a really good question to ask. And I think the thing that really put it all in perspective was when I went back and started playing Sonic Advance 1. I've mentioned repeatedly, Sonic Advance 1 is actually my favorite Sonic game, and though I can freely admit that Sonic Mania is a better playing and feeling game, I like Sonic Advance 1 so much more, and playing it and comparing it to Sonic Mania really put things in perspective. Advance 1 is such a bizarre game, okay? Sonic Advance 1 came out to tie in with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the GameCube release of Sonic Adventure 2. That was a time period where 3D Sonic was the new hotness, when people actually liked 3D Sonic, when the modern Sonic design was considered cool, when no one was complaining about green eyes, no one was demanding a 2D retro-style Sonic game, and everything was just hunky-dory with the series. And Dimps was just asked, hey, you know, we need a tie-in that we can slap some chows on for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube, make something on GBA. And their essential idea was, we have to make a GBA version of Sonic Adventure. Well, how do we do that? Well, it would be in 2D. How do we do Sonic Adventure in 2D? Well, you make Sega Genesis Sonic and you adventure it up. And that's what it is. I mean, shoot, the game opens with Neo Green Hill Zone, which is literally a combination of Green Hill Zone and the freaking beach stage from Sonic Adventure 1. And then the next stage is Secret Base Zone, which is pretty much Chemical Plant Zone, but not Chemical Plant Zone. So we're doing the Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone thing as far back as that, but they're all adventured up. And then you have the casino stage and the snow stage, and it's like, it is literally them taking the Genesis games and adventurifying them, adventuring them up as much as possible. I love the fact that it had all 4 playable characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, right off the bat. They all played unique, and they all had like a bunch of extra stupid added moves, like you could double tap forward with Sonic in midair to do this like little midair flip that I don't even understand the purpose of, but it was there. And if you press if you press jump again in the middle of a jump, you do a spin slash. Are these necessary? No. Are they ever like required in the game? No. They are just there in order to make these characters unique from one another and make the game feel more advanced than the Sega Genesis games. Like, it's more like, this is more like Sonic Adventure, and I loved it. Like, going back and playing those, I'm like, man, I wish this was in Sonic Mania. I wish the Sonic Advance series had enough love that they could do a modern version of Sonic Mania, but I doubt that'll happen. But yeah, you never know. Maybe they'll do a 2D modern Sonic game. That'd be cool. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here, where it's like, you know, if we just roll it back that hard, we really miss out on so much. And if you've never played Sonic Advance 1, oh, we gotta play it. Now, I know a bunch of people are gonna say, what about Sonic Advance 2? I hated the fact that, you had to, that Amy Rose was the final unlock. And that game's actually, Magma Canyon 1 is actually hold forward to win. Literally, I kind of did that. But yeah, Sonic Advance 2 is really good. Didn't dig Advance 3 nearly as much. And, you know, the Rush games are good. I like Rush Adventure more than the original Rush, but the original Rush had the friggin' crazy Jet Set Radio soundtrack. All of them are good games. If you've never played them, you really owe it to yourself to do that. But Sonic Advance 1 is my favorite because of the way it combined retro Genesis Sonic and modern Sonic in such a delightful way. And I feel like I've gotten completely off topic. But yes, that's why people are kind of distraught by the idea of potentially an all Sonic Mania future. Because as good as Sonic Mania is, it's kind of a step backwards. I mean, that's the point, but at the same time, it's not what all of us want. Indeed, when, you see, on the PS4, they have a direct link to it, but you don't need to play the PS4 version to take it. There is actually a survey that Sega put out asking you, what do you think of Sonic Forces? And I filled out that survey, and one of the main things I wrote in was that Sega needs to figure out something to do with the side characters. Like, and I specifically said either bring back Sonic the Fighters or Sonic Riders, because those are, like, the perfect outlets for them. But I kind of feel like the Sonic series needs its equivalent of Mortal Kombat Armageddon. You know, the game where, like, all the characters who have ever been in Mortal Kombat ever were playable, but it was super disappointing because they didn't have unique fatalities. Yeah, that one. And then it had a custom character creator. That was the best part of the game. And so the way to really enjoy Mortal Kombat Armageddon was to just you and your friend each make custom characters and tweak their abilities at one another as you try to beat each other. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I know, not a lot of people like Mortal Kombat Armageddon, don't care. That's what the Sonic series needs. It needs to find some way it can have a game that has all the characters. Because otherwise, I'm never getting a game with playable Marine the Raccoon. But we should also look out for the Ray the Squirrel fans. They need their time in the sun. A lot of people miss Mighty the Armadillo. I would love to play as Bean the Dynamite again. And the fact that we haven't had a game where Shadow and Fang the Sniper get to face off is truly a crime. What? Think about it. Fang the Sniper is the original gun user, so he and Shadow need to have an epic John Woo gun duel. It'd be amazing. Okay, that was like the main thing I wrote in on mine. And that brings me to the final point that I need to make here. I am going to have to sit here and savor Sonic Forces while I can. Because I don't think the next 3D Sonic game is going to be very good. Because as I mentioned, they sent out surveys, and literally every single person, whether they are a Sonic fan or not, after playing Sonic Forces, came away with the opinion they should make Sonic Adventure 3. Now, would I like a new Sonic Adventure game? Oh yeah, absolutely, but I have absolutely zero faith that Sega could ever pull it off, mostly due to, precedent. See, Sega has already tried to make Sonic Adventure 3 twice. Sonic 06 was a very blatant attempt at making a Sonic Adventure 3, if you actually really look at that game. And Sonic Unleashed is actually called Sonic World Adventure in Japan. It could arguably be Sonic Adventure 3. And people didn't really like either of those games as their new Sonic Adventure games. And I mentioned that I myself didn't like Sonic Adventure 2 either. So, couple that with the fact that all the previous attempts at making the adventure-style gameplay work generally ended in disaster, because that was called the Dark Age of Sonic. And, yeah, I don't see why Sega would be able to get it right. Now, that's not to say it would be impossible. Depends on what you mean by a Sonic Adventure 3. You give me a game with multiple playable characters I can stop and switch between at any time, but they all generally play like Boost Sonic but with different twists. Like, what if Sonic was the only character that actually had a boost? And then Tails got like a flight gauge, and Shadow got an ammo gauge. Knuckles and Amy would probably be limited and specific enough that they wouldn't need gauges. and then you, like, make different tweaks for the stages for different characters, that might actually be something. That might actually be pretty good. So, if they did that, that could be okay, but I'm still... And then, you know, you have the little hub towns, and, oh my god, I'd love to bring the Chows back. That's the whole reason I got into this franchise in the first place. I had a crippling addiction to virtual pets, okay? So, if they made a Sonic Adventure 3, it could be good as long as it remembered the lessons learned in the Boost Sonic games. More than that, it would, more than that, a lot of fans have suggested the idea of having Sonic, control differently depending on if you're holding down an accelerator button or not. Like, having him control more 3D platformer-ishly / Sonic Adventure-ly if you aren't holding down this button, but then you hold down an accelerator and he starts running and controlling like a race car. I could actually see that working out. Sonic Lost World kind of experimented with that, and I felt it was one of the few elements of that game that actually worked. It was just, can we keep it to one accelerator and not two, and make it so that way it's actually fast, please? But, yeah, I like, it could work out, but the problem I have is so many people want to completely ditch everything learned from the Boost games, all the improvements the Boost games have made, in favor of a pure 3D Sonic Adventure style game, which is something that I would actually go as far as to say Sega has actually never gotten right. Because Sonic Adventure 1, everyone's saying that. Have you played Adventure 1 and 2 recently? Are you sure about that? Because again, Sonic Adventure 1 was really good at its time. But now, I don't know. And considering Sega could never do anything as good as Sonic Adventure 1 before, no, I have absolutely zero faith in their ability to do a Sonic Adventure 3. And I think it will be far worse than Sonic Forces. But I am willing to be surprised. Because I'm gonna buy the game anyway. I like the world. I like the stupid plots. Sometimes the music is amazing. And like I said, there's a certain weird, visceral, addictive feel to those homing attacks that I just can't get over. So even though Sonic Adventure 3 has a greater chance of being Sonic 06 the Second rather than Sonic Adventure 1 the Second, I'll still play the stupid thing. Anyway, that has been me rambling for nearly an hour and a half about a freaking blue hedgehog and the fact that I was enjoying an arguably terrible game. It's not terrible, it's like, it's okay. Anyway, this is Gel, and I guess you've been game Babble ranted at or something. Thanks for listening, and, come on. It wasn't that bad. See ya.